Okay, everybody, in this video we are going to create a Windows workstation, and then we are going to join that workstation to our new Active Directory, which is running on Server 01. Now, you can see Server 01 AD running over here on the right hand side. The next thing we need to do is we need to create a Windows 10 workstation. So we're going to go to New, and we'll call this Win 10 Workstation. Okay, and we'll do Windows 10 64-bit. Say next. We're going to give this thing about 6 gigs, okay, of memory. Say next. We'll say create the virtual disk now. We'll be using the VDI, dynamically allocated, and we'll also do 50 gig, and this will be on a SATA drive. Okay. All right. Not quite done yet. Let's go back in, give it a right click, go to settings, change our adapter to a bridged adapter, select our network adapter. In this case, I'm using my laptop, so I've selected that. Let's go to storage. We need to get rid of this empty drive. So we'll give it a right click, say remove. Excuse me. Go to SATA, and we want to add another drive. And what we're going to do is we need Windows 10. So I'm going to do an add. We'll go over to Microsoft here. Excuse me. Nope, not in there. Let's see, what do I have here? Okay, let's just go into Windows 10, see what we got there. Oh, okay, this is the education version. And we're going to select the 64-bit, which is the x64 right here. Say open. You see it here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to select that, and then we're going to say choose the Windows 10, and now you see the Windows 10 ISO file is loaded into the DVD drive of our virtual machine. Okay, and we'll say OK, and now you can see that there's the optical drive and there's the Windows 10 education version. All right, so having done that, next we need to actually install that. So we're going to start the Windows 10 workstation, and we'll say start. And here we are. So let's bring that over to here. Again, language is going to be English. Time and currency will be US. Keyboard will also be US. So we'll say next. We'll do an install now. We'll click on that. All right, I'm going to say I don't have a product key at this point. We'll accept the terms. We'll say next. We'll do the custom install. We'll go into the default partition of 50 gigs. We'll say next. And now we go through the install. And this should install relatively quick. Okay, we're about halfway there. And once we finish this step, then we have 3 other steps to go through, and those will occur relatively quickly. I'm going to put my headset down for just a moment. Okay, so we finished the installation. It's now going through the reboot, and then we'll finalize the installation here. Once we get everything installed, the next step will be to join our workstation, our new workstation, to our Active Directory domain. Okay. While that's running, I'm going to go over here to our Active Directory machine and right hand control and then delete, give it our password. Okay, and here we are. We've got that running. So now what we want to do is I want to, well, actually tools. Then we're going to go down to users and computers. And there is our domain, CISC244.local. You'll see our computers here, and we have no computers listed in the domain. Once we get through the process of our workstation over here, we will see that computer out there, okay? But that will be in just a little bit. So we're going back to our workstation. Moved off to the other screen. Let's bring it back here. Let's make it bigger. Okay. And then we're just going to say use Express settings. Allow it to come up, get running here. Okay. We have the option of joining a local Active Directory domain. I really don't want to do that right now. In fact, I want to try to get past that. I'm just going to click on it for the moment. Okay, so we'll set up as a local account now, and when setup is completed, then we'll join the domain. Okay, so that's what we want to do. So we'll say next. Okay, so well, not administrator, because administrator already exists. So we're going to say user 01. Okay. And we're going to enter in a password. I'm going to use our standard class password. And I'm just going to put standard. And we'll give it a moment. Seems to be taking its sweet time. Something went wrong, okay. Okay, it's probably fussing about our default password. So okay, it preferred that answer. All right. Okay, almost there. Come on, machine, let's go. Once we get our workstation up and running here, we're going to need to make a couple of changes. The first thing, you've got to understand that I'm using this in my my personal home network, and that the router in my network is providing DHCP information, addresses, and so on. And it is the primary DNS server, and we need to change that. We need to actually turn around and we need to point it to our server 01 AD. Okay, so here we are, we're up and running. Let's just take a look at what we're currently set to. And so I'm going to do a Windows R here, do a CMD, and we'll do an IP config /all. So you can see right off we're getting DHCP, okay? And it's assigned us the address of 192.168.1.81, and that's fine to leave that alone. We're also looking at a default gateway of 192.168.1.1, and that is my network router, okay, that's handing that out. And we can see that our DHCP is 192.168.1.1. What I do want to do is I want to make sure that I'm pointing to the proper DNS, because we're going to be joining Active Directory. And you'll notice the current DNS servers, 75, 75, 75, 75, and then 75, 75, 76, and 76. And that is the standard Comcast DNS servers. And but I'm not going to want to do that. What I want to do is I want the primary DNS to point to our server 01 AD, to our system over here. And if we look at this system, and again do a Windows R command, and I do an IP config. Okay, so you can see there's the IP address of the server, and we want to modify some of this. So we'll go down to our network icon down here. We'll give it a right click. We'll go to open and sharing. And then we're going to change the adapter settings. There's our network adapter. We'll give it a right click. We're going to go to properties. Then we're going to go into TCP/IP, Internet Protocol version 4. We're going to change We're going to leave the IP address alone. We're going to leave the default gateway alone. Coming off of DHCP is fine. We don't need a change there. What we do want to do is we want to hard code our DNS server, and we said it was 1.118, and that is our server over here. And then the backup, which was Comcast, I'm going to say is 75.75. Okay, so we'll go with all of that. We'll say OK. Before I leave this window, one of the things I want to do is I want to disable IP version 6. Okay, because otherwise that's going to get in front of our DNS, and it's going to use IP version 6 for DNS resolution, and we don't need that because we're really not configured for that. So we'll disable that. We're going to say close. Okay, this can basically get minimized. Let's go back to our command prompt, and let's take a look. So now you'll notice that I still have the 192.168.1.81, which is our IP address. Subnet mask is a /24 or 255.255.255.0. Our default gateway is still 192.168.1.1. DHCP server is the same. Now, the DNS server has been changed to 192.168.1.118 with a secondary of 75.75.75.75. All right, so this is all properly configured. Now, a little test. Let's make sure that we can get to our server. And we're going to use the ping. So we're going to simply say 192.168.1.119. Make sure that we can ping it, and there it is. And one last, okay, and we're going to say ping CISC 244.local, which is the name of our domain. Let's try that again. Just CISC 244. No, that shouldn't even do it. Okay. So we can ping our server. Oh, I may need to get out and save this. Okay. So. Okay, I located our problem, and you can probably see this for yourselves. But you'll notice that my DNS server has been set to 192.168.1.118 when in fact the address on our server is 192.168.1.119. So let's go back in, let's modify that to 119, and we'll check this out again. So back into version 4, we'll say properties, and we're going to change this right here to 19. We'll say OK. We'll say OK. We're going to verify it on my my Windows command prompt. So we see now that it's pointing to 119. Let's come down here. Let's try pinging my domain again. And still no. Okay, so I was able to finally get and be able to ping my domain. And what I had to do was I had to restart the system after I made all the changes. And if you recall, I rebooted twice. The first one was to simply do standard reboot, but then I realized that I did not have the correct IP address for my server plugged into the DNS settings. So I corrected that. And again, after making that change, I rebooted the system, and now I come up and I'm able to actually ping my CISC 244.local domain. All right, so we now know that we can see the domain and we are ready to join this workstation to our Active Directory domain. Okay, so now that we're accessing the Active Directory domain, the next thing we'll do is we will join that domain. So we are going to minimize our command prompt. We're going to go over, give it a right click. We're going to come up to System. And at this point, we can change a couple of things. We're going to go to Advanced System Settings. And I want to go into computer name, and I want to change, and we're going to call this Win 10 Workstation, okay? And we're going to join a domain, and we're going to type in CISC 244.local. Okay, so it doesn't like the space in the workstation name. Okay, so we'll say okay. Now this thing's going to ask us for credentials to access our domain. So the credentials are administrator and our standard password. Okay, and we are now part of the domain. Now, to confirm that, so we'll say yes to that. We'll say close to this. No, don't restart yet. We'll minimize this. Then let's go over to our server. We'll minimize this, and we've got our computers folder open, and there is our Windows 10 workstation. Okay, so it has joined the domain. Now what this means, by joining the domain, we now know that this computer, this workstation, Windows 10 workstation, is under the control of the Active Directory domain. And there are a number of things that we can control, and we'll be talking about some of that stuff a little later on. And it's honestly what gives Active Directory the power that it has, and makes our job as network administrators so easy, because it allows us to remotely configure various settings for our workstation, configuring security for our workstation, configuring who's allowed to log in through that workstation, and so on down the line. So there are a number of things that Active Directory is going to enable us to do in managing workstations such as this one, the Windows 10 workstation. Okay, so this is the end of our video, and I'll talk with you soon. Thank you.